everyone, this is Miss Hempel. I'm creating this video to help you practice your multi-digit long division. So I gave you this problem, 5,514 divided by 32. In a few seconds I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try this problem on your own on a piece of loose leaf. But before I do that, I want to give you a little tip, something to help you if you're struggling, is to write out all of the multiples of your divisor, which is 32. So for example, I'm going to list to the side 32 times 1, 32 times 2, 32 times 3, and so on. And I would keep going all the way up until 32 times 9. That's going to be the largest multiple that I need. Oops. So, for example, 32 times 1 is 32. 32 times 2, if you want to, you can do that on the side of your paper. Just write 32 times 2 and multiply it out, and you're going to get 64. Or what you can notice is that each multiple is just adding 32 to the previous number. So for example, 64 is going to be 32 plus 32. So if we want to get 32 times 3, we can either write out 32 times 3 and do it, or use some mental math. This one's pretty straightforward. I think you can do it in your head. Or we can just add another 32 to the number before, which was 64. So 64 plus 32 would give us 96. Okay, and then just keep writing out those multiples. That way when you're solving the problem, you don't have to try all of the multiplication. You can just look to the side of your paper and see which multiple you're going to use for your division problem. Alright, so you can finish those off if you want. Otherwise, you can still attempt the problem the other way. But for now, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try the problem on your own. And then I'll come back and I will solve the problem and you can check yours against mine. Okay? Okay, so now you should have finished the division problem, and I'm going, as you can see, I finished all of the multiples on the side of my paper up to 32 times 9, and now I'm going to solve the division problem for you, so follow along, check your work as I go, and listen to the explanation in case you made any mistakes and need help understanding the answer, okay? So first, I asked myself, how many times does 32 go into 5? And I know that 32 goes into 5 0 times, so you can put an X. I know some of you like putting an X. I'm going to put a 0 there. Okay. The next step, multiply. So I'm going to do 32 times 0. I get 0. Subtract. And then bring down the 5. And then again, start with the division. How many times does 32 go into 5? So here, I'm going to use my multiples on the side of my paper and see which is the biggest multiple that could go into 55. So I see the first multiple is 32, that one works. The second multiple is 64, and that's too big. So I have to use 32, the first multiple, so I'm going to put in 32 goes into 55 one time. And the multiplication, this is the part that's easy, it's already done for us, so 32 times 1 is 32. I'm going to subtract, and then again bring down. Okay, now I get 231. I asked myself how many times 32 goes into 231. Well, 231 is a pretty big number, especially compared to 32, so I know it's going to be towards the end of my multiples list. So I'm going to go down. I see 224, and then I see 256. 256 is too big, so 224 is what I'm going to go with. So 32 goes into 231 7 times, and that goes up here. And 32 times 7 is 224. And then again, subtract, have to borrow. So I borrow 10 from there, and I do 11 minus 4 is 7. And that's 0 and that's 0, so 7, and then so I subtract and then bring down. and then I get 74. And now I ask myself, how many times does 32 go into 74? Go to my list, and I see 64 is the highest, so 32 goes into 74 2 times. Multiply 32 times 2, I get 64. Subtract, and I get 10, and I bring down, but there's nothing to bring down. We'll work on changing our remainders to fractions and decimals later on. For right now, I'm okay with you guys just writing remainder of 10. Okay, so my answer is 172, remainder 10. Awesome. We're going to try a new problem. Okay, so here's our next problem. It's a little bit bigger, don't get scared. It's 59,715 divided by 146. Now this time, as I go through the problem, I'm actually not going to list out the multiples on the side of my page like I did last time. I'm just going to go through the problem using estimation to help me figure out how many times 146 goes into whatever number we're looking at. Okay? So first I want you to pause the video right now, attempt the problem on your own, and then if you get stuck or if you finish and you want to check your answer, come back to the video and I'll go through the steps of the problem. Okay? Alright, so hopefully you guys finished this division problem. Now I'm going to go through it. So here we go, 146. First I'm going to ask myself how many times it goes into 5. And I know 5 is really small, so 146 goes into 5 0 times. Next, I'm going to multiply 146 times 0. I get 0. I subtract and bring down the next number. 59. Again, 146 does not go into 59 at all, 0 times. So 146 times 0, again, subtract, subtract, and then bring down the next number. All right, 146 goes into 597 how many times? So I'm going to use some estimation right now. 146 is about 150. And 597 is about 600. So if I can estimate how many times 150 goes into 600, which is pretty easy, then I have a good idea how many times 146 goes into 597. So 150 plus 150 is 300. So 150 times 2 is 300. And then if I double that, I would get 600. So 150 times 4 would give us 600. So we're going to assume that 146 goes into 597 4 times. So let's try. 146 times 4. And when I multiply that out, I would get 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 4 is 16. Plus 2 is 18. 4, and then plus 1 is 5. 584. Now that definitely has to be my answer because it's really close to 597. And if I added another multiple, I would have to add 146. That would definitely go over 597. So 146 goes into 597 4 times, and that gives us 584. And then we subtract, and we get 13, and then we bring down. All right, now I ask myself, how many times does 146 go into 131? Well, 131 is less than 146. So if I even did one time, if I put 1 right there, I would get 146, which is too big. So I know that 146 does not go into 131, or it's the same thing as saying it goes in 0 times. So now you have to make sure you put a 0 there. You cannot just bring down the next number without putting that 0, because it's going to affect your place value and your answer is going to be incorrect. So you have to put that 0 there, and then we can say 146 times 0 is 0, and subtract, and bring down. Now we bring down our next number. okay? If you always do that, if you always multiply your divisor by 0 and subtract and then bring down, that'll really get you into the habit so you never forget to put your 0 there. So in other words, always do the subtract then bring down, so that way you don't forget to put a number in your answer, in your quotient. Okay, so now 146 goes into 1,314 how many times? Well, that's a really big number compared to 146. So I'm just going to try 146 times 9 just to see where that brings us, because my best guess is it's definitely going to be a high number, because we already know that 146 times 4 gives us 584, and that's less than half of this. So I know that it has to be really big, so it's going to be probably either 8 or 9. So I'm going to just start with 9, and if it doesn't work, if it's too big, then it's got to be 8. Okay, so I do my multiplication. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 5, that's 41. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 4 is 13. Well, would you look at that? Works out perfectly. Awesome. That's the best. So we put 9 in our quotient. So 146 times 9 is 1,314. Subtract, and there's nothing left to bring down. So our answer is a beautiful 409 with no remainder. Awesome. All right, I hope you guys are getting better at this. If you are still struggling, make sure to pause the video whenever you're having trouble and listen to what I say and watch the steps over again. Okay? Thanks for watching.